Hello, good morning, good morning. How we all doing today? It's Wednesday, y'all. It's Wednesday, 9 a.m. on the East Coast, so you know what that means. It's time for LinkedIn Live with Nana. Let me turn my volume up just a tad. Y'all let me know if I get too loud, okay? But you know how we do. Listen, if you are here live watching this with me or being a part of this LinkedIn Live this morning, drop in the chat, drop in the comments. Let me know that you are in the building. If you're catching this on the replay, do the same. Drop replay in the comments and let me know that you're here. All right, so we are not going to waste any time with this one because this is such a hot topic right now. Professional dress. The word professional, redefining what that means, redefining what that looks like, and why companies need to do it, why companies need to redefine this concept of what professional dress is. Okay. Hi, Dr. Michelle. Good to have you. So, I want to talk about a couple of reasons why this conversation is becoming so relevant and so prominent right now. So, first things first, there's a big culture shift happening, right? The workplace is challenging the status quo, right? Hey, Nahima. So, this is something that we're seeing all over the place, right? We are seeing that the workplace is no longer on board for all of the traditional ways that we have defined what is professional, what is acceptable when it comes to the work standard. And there's so many different things that have happened over the years that are contributing to this shift, right? So we've had a global pandemic, right? This pandemic has changed on a basic level how people feel about the need to dress in suits and high heels and wear what they deem to be their workwear, that part of their closet. People need more casual and comfortable options. Like it is required, okay? The pandemic just had people at home, and there was a lot of leggings going on and a lot of sweatshirts going on. And so now, because you've come out of 2+ years of working at home, being in that environment, and now you might be going back into the office or even still working from home, then immediately, a lot of companies and a lot of leaders are asking their employees to shift, to immediately say, well, we're back in the office now. So get your suits together, get those pumps out, let's go. And people are like, actually, no, I don't want to. I don't want to wear that. I want there to be more of an option to have a more relaxed feel in the workplace. So what does that look like? What are our options there to have more casual, more comfortable, just quality options when it comes to our professional dress and how we look at that for our company. So the pandemic at its core really shifted how people look at professional dress and is driving this demand for more casual and comfortable options when it comes to the workplace. And listen, y'all, per usual, as we're having this conversation, definitely drop into the comments, share your thoughts, share your experiences. This is going to be really helpful for some of your colleagues that are in this space who are in leadership and decision-making decisions around what professional dress looks like. And as well for some of your colleagues, who might need to hear that there are other people having similar experiences as them. Okay, so drop those thoughts up in the comments. Another big thing that's happening around the culture shift in the workplace is DE&I, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, right? This whole need to create safer and more inclusive workplaces. All right. This is huge. People want to see themselves in the places that they work. And I think what is even more of a push right now is that people want to see themselves represented across the entire spectrum of the workplace. So that means if I'm looking at the C-suite, I want to see myself. If I'm looking at management, I want to see myself. If I'm looking at blue collar, workers, I want to see myself, right? At staff level, management level, leadership level, you want to see yourself reflected. Okay? The workplace is not all white. The workplace is not all male. Let's just put that out there. Okay? So we know that to be true. That is a fact. So, in knowing this, why would we continue to permeate a standard that sets that as the status quo? It doesn't make any sense. You can't push for diversity, equity, and inclusion and say that we're creating spaces where we want you to feel seen, we want you to feel heard. But when you show up, though, we need you to pull it back on your personality. People aren't here for that, right? There's a disconnect there. People really want to feel like if you're being true to your words and you're being true to that, that statement that you have on your website around the values that your company upholds, people want to see that visually reflected. They want to see and feel how that translates into the experiences at work, right? Naima shared that business casual and smart casual on the rise, but the pandemic really pushed those styles to the front of the game, right? Nobody is trying to wear full stuffy suits to work anymore. Those days are done. Yeah, there's a shift. You can't ignore that there is a big cultural shift happening, and that, as I like to say, people are challenging the status quo. They are challenging everything aligned with what we are typically used to doing. Okay, it's a new day and age. So another thing that's happened culturally, the big shift for authenticity, bringing more of your personality to work, right? And there's definitely an understanding in this, in a way of how you do this strategically and successfully, and what elements of yourself you bring to work, because there are definitely environments in which it could be a threat to your success in your career around what elements of yourself you bring to the workplace, because that's the problem, right? Every environment is not fully supportive of that. Some people talk a good game, but they don't really act on it. And others are just saying, you know what, we're not participating, right? Like, let's just be real. So it can be really challenging for people of color, people from differently abled communities, like people from the LGBTQIA community, right? There are so many different elements around what bringing your authentic self to work looks like for each of these different groups. And if you're an organization, if you're a company, one of the best things you can do is to show visual examples of what this looks like for your folks, right? That's so, so, so important. So I think that right now, when it comes to professional dress and what that standard looks like, there's so much rigidity, right? It's so rigid. People are very prescriptive in what is and what is not professional dress. And so, of course, I had to pull up some definitions, because, you could search professional dress. There are so many different definitions, and they all hover around some similar themes. But I pulled up one from Indeed.com because I thought that was a good source, because that's, a popular site just like LinkedIn, where a lot of people who are entering the workplace, whether they're just coming out of college or grad school or making some career shifts, they go to these sites as resources to give them guidance on what to wear. So this is some of the guidance that was on Indeed.com. It says, no matter the look, solid, neutral colors such as black, gray, and navy are best. Keep any accessories minimal Avoid items like chunky jewelry or any jewelry that makes noise when it moves. Oversized belts or a busy tie. Avoid those pieces. Then it goes into talking about matching your belt to your shoes. For shoes, wear closed-toed shoes, and keep your heels under 3 inches. So I want to hone in on these thoughts around solid neutral colors such as black, gray, and navy. So there's an element around color, right? There's a color restriction there. There's very specific guidelines around color. And this is prominent across the board when people think about professional dress. They always think about color. And those neutral colors, black, gray, and navy, are top of the totem pole. Second, minimal accessories, right? Keeping your accessories minimal. That's the other piece that comes into mind when people often think about professional dress, right? There's this notion that professional dress has to be within a certain color spectrum, that if you are at your most professional, it involves a suit, and that you minimize your accessories. So for me, there's just something about all of that that permeates the thought that you must be in a uniform to look like everyone else. Like I call it copycat syndrome. Okay. So I think that as companies are looking at this and understanding what kind of culture this is permeating for people and feeling that their behaviors have to be the same, it's very interesting to see how the workplace is changing and embracing more authenticity and what it looks like to bring more of your authentic self to the table, and how people are saying, no, that doesn't reflect me, that doesn't look like me. So I need to see more of myself when it comes to the company. And so that's why it's really important for HR, DEI, talent to really start including visual examples in their company dress guidelines that are reflective of the people who work for them. You have to include people of color. You have to include people of different body shapes and sizes. You have to include people who are differently abled, right? You have to include people who have different gender pronouns and preferences. Like, you have to include all of these elements if you are really talking about creating some safe and inclusive workplaces that reflect your people. You want to include these aspects when you're talking about what professional looks like. Because if you don't, and you continue to present examples that are specifically based on white male standards, what you're literally saying to people is you're not welcome here. Right? That's literally what you're saying to people. Okay, the chat is hot. What are we talking? Let's go. Yes, Toy, absolutely, right? Always pushing people to show up with their personality at work. It's a huge, it's a win for you. It is one of your best assets. And it goes so underplayed, and it is something that is not supported oftentimes when you're first introduced to the workplace, especially if you're first getting your first job, like out of college or grad school. A lot of these guidelines, this is where it starts. Like, we all remember, right? We all remember when we got that first job when we graduated, and how you were instantly like, I gotta go get a gray suit, I gotta get a black suit, I gotta get a navy blazer, right? Like, there was instantly, you knew what that uniform was. And so it took a little time for a lot of folks, even I'll speak for myself, it took some time to say, is that really me? Is that going to help support me to bring my very best to doing my job? Because at the end of the day, that's what I want. And that's what my management wants. Right? Portia said, unless the suit is fuchsia and tailored, I ain't interested. Okay, absolutely. Yep, neutral colors, 1,000% are part of that professional dress standard. Um, I love to see it. Wearing your bright colors, wearing your heels. And Naima brings a great point around how she brought more of her personality to the workplace by wearing brighter colors, wearing high heels, and saying that no one in the company challenged her. The executives always complimented her. I think one thing that's, this is very much an underlying element, but extremely, extremely key is that, you want to be intentional about your style and you want to have a perspective about your style at work. That's when your confidence comes through, right? Because people see that you actually are doing something on purpose with intention. To me, that's a thought leader. That's somebody who I want to hear from. That's somebody who I know has a point of view. That's somebody who I would entrust to say, you know what, they're primed for some leadership positions because they're not just accepting the status quo and going along with the norm. They are challenging and choosing to show up as themselves, which can also often be like a very daring aspect of your personality. Can be a very daring thing to do, to show up more authentically, to be yourself, especially when you're in environments where you don't see yourself reflected. Okay. So listen, I'm trying to catch up with y'all in the chat because it is flowing. Toy says, I also think it depends on the company. Coming out of the pandemic, it was a shift that some people were excited to get dressed up again. Yes, okay, myself included. This excitement around the dopamine, bright colors proves your point so clear. We all want that feel good and see ourselves represented, right? It's so true, I think that all of these elements that we're talking about around this cultural shift, right? This cultural shift that's pushing the status quo, whether it was the pandemic, whether it's the push for authenticity in the workplace, whether it's the push for DEI and safer and more inclusive workplaces. It's also the fact that the workplace is a lot younger. There's a lot more millennials in the workplace. So there's a definite age difference, right? There's a generational divide that's happening as well. You've got a lot of folks in leadership positions who are baby boomers. And then you have a lot of folks coming up who are like, I grew up in the age of the internet and Instagram, and we share and we talk and we voice our opinions, and we have no hesitancy about that. And that ruffles a lot of feathers. That ruffles a whole lot of feathers. And it's ruffling the feathers of the folks who have, really historically defined what professional is, what it looks like, what it sounds like, and all the parameters around career success. And so now people are rejecting that. People are really rejecting that. And it's an important space to now figure out, okay, how do we find some balance? How do we come to the table and say, there's some elements around professional dress that are specific to our company environment that we want to make sure is really coming through when we're talking with our clients, when we're talking with our customers, right? So there's an element of what it means to be a professional, right? What does it really mean? And for me, a lot of that comes across in how you are able to demonstrate your knowledge, right? Your know-how. You want to be seen as an expert. You want to be seen as someone who has experience, who's trusted, who's dependable, right? These are the traits that you want to associate with someone who's a professional, right? Absolutely, right? And so that looks like so many different things. I think also, and you all drop in the chat and let me know, drop in and let me know when you hear the word professional, what are some of the adjectives that come to mind for you, right? And so when you think about, I think that's the thing, we all want to feel respected in any space, We want respect. We want people to look at us and recognize us for our expertise and our knowledge. And when there come times when our appearance is an element that people choose to look at negatively to then imply that we are not great at our job, problem, right? Insert problem here, right? That's the piece. So once you know that shift in itself needs to take place, right? That's a huge light bulb moment, right? So at the base of it, respect and recognition is something that you desire. And so for I think for especially if you are a woman of color, I think in particular, you looking at your wardrobe as an asset and as a tool that can help you strategically have career success. And this is for everyone, to be quite honest. But y'all know my sweet spot is women of color. But once you start reframing it in that light and looking at it less as a space to conform, that's when you're going to start to see a shift in how you show up and how people respond and react to you. I think that's when you're going to see an uptick in, excuse me, that's when you're going to see an uptick in the level of respect and recognition that you start to receive. Because there's something in the fact of being a disruptor and doing it in a way that has people looking at you like, like, man, he's sharp. She's sharp. Fully coming to the table. Ideas are amazing. People are really like gravitating to what she's sharing, right? All of these different elements. And then you're taking in the full package. And you're like, she's over here rocking this fuchsia suit, in a French chapeau, right? Like, wow. And there's something that within a lot of colleagues that are amazed, maybe even envious of your ability to bring your personality to the table, to master conversations, to hold space, and to do it as more of you, and not to do it in a way that conforms to the standard of what everyone else looks like. Okay? Hey, the chat is popping. I'm glad y'all in the building, all right? Hey, Malaron, good to see you too. Yeah, Kim, honestly, the whole uniform look is boring and nothing about it is you, right? Portia says baby boomers couldn't stand millennials when they entered the workplace. And now they have Gen Z. They do more than we did, right? The workforce is getting younger. And I'm telling you, there's something, y'all, listen, I'm 40. There's something about me in my 20s that I was like, oh, I could do whatever I want. I was way more of a risk taker, right? I was way more of a risk taker because I was just, there was the unapologetic, like, what? Yeah. I think that was probably even most the space when I started to challenge what everyone was wearing. And I was like, nah, I'm about to wear this head wrap to work. Like, I don't even care. And people would look at me, oh my gosh, you about to do that? And I was like, what's the big deal? There was a space and time where I was like, what is the big deal? What is the big deal? I'm wearing a head wrap and a blazer. So you want to tell me because I'm choosing to wear something on my head that's reflective of my culture, that is something to call out? What's the big fuss? Right? What's the big fuss? And the other part of the puzzle is too, like, we are global. Can we please get out of just this box of just an American norm, an American definition of things? Yes, I know we live in the United States. Yes, I know all those elements. Also, so many of the companies and places that we work for are global. So how do we extend that olive branch, right? How do we make that piece something that's celebrated? If I'm in the Muslim faith and I'm wearing a hijab, or I'm wearing any kind of head wrap, covering, or adornment, that can't be something that I'm dinged for because it doesn't fall into the professional dress guidelines of black, navy, gray, a suit, white shirt, tucked in, black belt, black shoes. We can't continuously set standards that really elevate certain people and diminish others. And I think that's really the problem that I have with what I see around the definitions and the guidelines around professional dress. So much of it is, let's reduce and diminish folks that are in underrepresented groups, and let's elevate the standard of whiteness. I'm just going to say what I want to say. I'm 40, but I feel 20. You know, like that's really at its core what so much of the status quo is about. And that's why we're disrupting it. That's why there's this entire push to disrupt it on so many levels. Okay? Let me make sure I'm catching y'all up here in this chat. Kim said, this is such a timely message. I'm heading to the office right now and in my closet, piecing together outfit. Come on, Kim. Come on. And post a picture of what outfit you put together because the people want to see it. All right. Portia said that when she thinks about professional, I think real basic. It's giving average. It's giving unimaginative. It's not giving for me. You know what? That is so interesting. That is so interesting. I think if that is that really almost aligns with the definitions of what you see most commonly on the internet when it comes to professional dress. It is very average. You know, I think Portia hit something there. There's an element of it just being very basic and subpar. And I think that at the end of the day, you know, it just gets to the fact that people really don't like folks who ruffle feathers, you know, and they don't like people who are talking about disrupt. Why are you trying to bring in something new? We've been doing this thing over here for a good 20, 30 years like this. This is good. Let's not mess it up, right? People who are literally afraid of change. Okay? Right, Toy? We don't do average. Okay? Okay, we don't do average. And it's so counter to what you as a CEO, as a director, as an HR partner, as a chief people officer, it's so counterintuitive to what you desire. You're literally looking for people who are top talent. You're looking for people who are thought leaders in their industry. You're looking for people who are going to challenge the status quo. You're looking for those people who are going to create culture and connection. So why again would you put out a message that permeates conformity, being average, blending in like everyone else? It does not equate. You're not going to get the result you desire. So when you are interviewing and everyone's arriving at the HR office for their first round of interviews and everyone's sitting down and it's gray, navy, black, khaki, gray, navy, black. What? Fuchsia suit? What? I want to talk to her. Right? It's natural. Like that is a part of the way that we process. Visually, we get stimulated. That's why within seconds, those first impressions happened. And our brains compute thousands of impressions within seconds. So literally, it's a snap of a finger that you see someone and you're interested or disinterested in that person. right? It happens instantaneously. So, how are we going to show up? Who are you going to hire? Who are you going to invite for the next round of interviews? Who are you going to promote? What kind of culture and environment are you going to foster? Do you want everyone to be carbon copies? Do you want an assembly line? Maybe you do. If you do, keep on with your status quo. If you don't, because you actually work at a company that's global and wants to remain competitive and wants to invite different thought leaders into its space, then you really want to know how you are visually communicating that intention to prospective talent. How are you are visually emphasizing that message to your current staff and employees. Yeah, absolutely, Toy. It could be so simple as making some simple tweaks in your accessories, turquoise shoes and glasses with your black suit, right? Absolutely. Malaron says she often gets a boost when she sees one of us dressing in their fit. 1,000%, right? You want to see other people who look like you knocking it out the park because that boosts you up, right? That boosts you up 1,000%. Portia said, you usually can tell that people wish they could express themselves through clothes, but they're scared or they don't know where to start. 1,000%. 1,000%. So, listen, y'all, I could be on my soapbox all day long because I think this is just it's a complex space and also a simple space, right? But it's so funny because I think it's something that people think about last, right? People are scared. Okay, I've been having conversations with different leaders and just different individuals in elements of HR and in roles in HR and in talent. And a lot of people are ignorant. They just don't know and they haven't thought about this, or they're scared of the repercussions, right? They are scared of being labeled racist, sexist, homophobic, biased. They are scared. So, what happens if you're ignorant and you're afraid? Whew, I fear for you. I don't fear for you, but you get stuck. I feel like you either become someone who doesn't take any action or you're taking all the action because you're just doing it in a reactive way, right? You don't have any intentionality. You haven't given it any care and consideration to really think about what your viewpoint is and how you want to start addressing these topics. So instead, you just, let's hire a DEI person. You're in charge of everything that has to do with race, with gender, right? You just throw these big blanket solutions over things. And employees are just sitting back like, that's not even what I asked for. That's not even what I need. I don't even see myself reflected here, right? Oh, so good you could join us, Toy. Yeah, let's do it. I would love to be on. Okay, we'll talk about that offline. Right? So, just as a person who's potentially watching this and you might be in one of those positions in HR, in top talent, a chief people officer, you're in this space of you're in such a significant space because you really determine so much of what the company culture is and what the experience is for your employees. And so, something as simple as what they wear every day entering the workplace and making a decision to redefine that in a way that embraces more authenticity, that allows them to bring more of their personality to the office and helps them to see visual examples that are reflective of themselves, goes a long way in promoting more safe and inclusive work environments. It's just that simple. It really, really is. So when I think about, those that's what I think about around the why, around why professional dress needs to be redefined, reshaped, rethought. It's really because people want to see themselves reflected. And right now, in the current standards of professional dress, they are too rigid and too one-dimensional. Okay? The standards are too rigid and one-dimensional. They don't allow any room for people to come and really bring their best selves to the office place. So let's just get into a few, tips that I'll leave y'all with around professional dress, and some basic takeaways. And this applies to anyone. And I think these are some of the basic things that when you consider professional dress, I think these are a given, but you would be surprised, okay? And I think these are some of the basic things that companies can include that will give some just a decent starting place, all right? So first up is quality. Introducing quality into your pieces, taking care of your clothing, right? I think one thing to really keep in mind is that professional dress and the way that people show up in the workplace is such a big spectrum. Y'all, it's a big spectrum. I have seen folks who struggle with what it looks to take quality and have care in your clothing pieces, coming to the office with things that are wrinkled, not taking the time to iron, things that have stains on them. I have seen it. And y'all have seen it. Y'all at work, you have seen it. I know you've seen it, okay? You have seen there be a lower level of quality, right? And that's just baseline number one. Do not wear pieces that have holes in them, that are wrinkled, none of those elements, right? Take care in your clothing. If you're at another spectrum when it comes to quality, I would encourage you to up the quality game when it comes to your wardrobe and how you decide to show up at work, right? Because we already established there's also different levels to professional. Because Portia called that out in a second, that just even that word of thinking about professional, how it has some level of like mediocre to it, right? There's just this level of this energy of just average that can be associated with professional. But we ain't average, baby, okay? All right? Us fly women, all right? We are not average. We are not average in anything that we do. So how do you take that level of quality and up it a notch? Okay? That might look in investing in some higher statement pieces. Okay? Whether that is going thrifting to find those pieces, so you're maintaining a great price point, right? Or if you're going to do more boutique shopping, or you're going to invest in going into some higher end boutiques like your Nordstroms or your Bergdorfs or things of that nature. Understand where you currently invest, right? Understand the current price point that you invest in for your pieces, and consider investing anywhere from 10 to 25% more for some great statement pieces. Okay. All right. Next up, fit. Fit. Know how clothes fit on your body. It's so game changing. And the thing about fit is you want to be intentional about the fit, right? You might want to have your fit be very structured and, kind of a very well fit to the body. In other spaces, especially if it comes to suiting, a blazer, slacks, right? You might be going for straight leg. You might be going for wide leg. You might be having a single button blazer, right? But you know how the clothes fit on your body. You know how it's going to fit along your arms so that it's not too long, so that it hits right here on the wrist. You know how it wants to come in to align with the silhouette of your curves, right? And the shape of your body. And so one of the things that is super helpful for you to have when it comes to fit is a tailor. Time and time again, I remind folks to please invest in a tailor. It can be your best asset. I'd rather you invest in a suit or invest in a dress that is a little bit less than what you would spend. Say you have a budget of $250 for a dress. I'd rather you pay $150 for a great dress that you love and then spend another $50 to get it altered to fit your body the best. Then go and spend something at $250 or more. The fit is always going to win. That's where it becomes so flattering. And it really allows you to be seen in a great light. So the other thing to keep in mind with fit is that there's all different types of fit, right? So things can be form fitting. I'll say there's 3 different types of fit. There could be form fitting, there could be well fit, and there could be loose or oversized. So things could be in the form fitting space, right? Like this sweater is form fitting, right? It really does hug my curves, the shape of my arms, along my bust. It's form fitting, right? When it comes to suiting, a lot of times we'll fall in that well fit or even oversized, right? Space. How many times have you seen a woman come through an amazing oversized blazer, right? Whether it's like a vintage feel, giving you some Denise Huxtable vibes for those who know, they know, right? Or she's just really doing a great oversized blazer and maybe some palazzo pants, but she's crushing it, right? So when it comes to fit, be intentional. You have to know how clothes fall on your body to determine what kinds of fit you could do. Okay. Next up, color. Go beyond gray, navy, and black. If you open up your closet, and I have opened up quite a few, gray, navy, khaki, black, so prominent, so dominant. I can't tell you how many closets, especially for women of color, that I open, and the colors are just so muted. The colors are so washed out. It's almost like, oh, if I wash this sweater and it's this vibrant pink, and then all of a sudden, it becomes like an Easter egg pink. Just like completely washed out. Does nothing for my skin. Right? So if you're thinking about professional dress, this is a big space that's a part of the status quo. Gray, navy, khaki, black. We are going to push beyond that. Wear the red suit, wear the red lip, wear the pink jacket, wear the green blouse, wear the color. Wear the color. Do not be afraid of it. Embrace it fully and wholeheartedly, and it will clearly differentiate you from your peers. Okay? So I could go on a rant all day about color, but I'm just going to leave it there. All right? So at the end of the day, y'all, be intentional and have a perspective with your style at work. That's on an individual basis for you, thinking about your professional dress and how to redefine it in a way that's going to be an asset for your career. Be intentional and have a perspective. Define your style. Know what kind of style you have. Know how you're going to wear color, how you're going to wear accessories, how you're going to change up your shoes. Know what you're going to do, why you're selecting certain pieces, how you're going to pull it together for a complete look. Have a perspective. Be intentional. That's part of having style, right? That's part of having style. I have a point of view. That's why I select certain pieces that I wear. Don't just leave things up to chance. Don't throw anything on in haste. Don't dismiss it. Take time, be intentional, make decisions that really align with this type of style that you have or that you desire, because there might be a gap there. And if you need help with the gap, send me a DM, right? So that's the big piece. And if you are in the HR space, you know, if, like I mentioned, if you're in talent, if you're in DE&I and you're at companies and they're really struggling to understand how to redefine professional dress, you know, because of this culture shift that's happening in the workplace and this challenge for the status quo, let's have a conversation. You know, I would love to invite you to have a discovery call with me, because right now, this culture shift is really permeating throughout your workplace. And at the end of the day, employees will leave in search of the best culture fit. We've seen it time and time again. Quiet quitting, the great resignation. Employees will leave organizations in search of the best culture fit for themselves. And so you really want to make sure you have those visual examples and make sure you're redefining professional dress in a way that reflects the people who work for you. All right. I'm inviting you to be intentional and to be cognizant of the culture shift that's taking place, and to not be reactive to it, but to be proactive about it. Okay, so I would invite you to send me a DM. We can hop on a discovery call and I can get to know your organization, and we can discuss some potential workshops and some ideas around making sure that you're redefining and looking at professional dress in a way that's really going to support the really safe and inclusive work environment that you're ultimately striving for. All right. All right, y'all. That is my time. Let me look up in these chats, see what we doing. Okay. Yes, Malaron, get a tailor. Oh, I'm so glad that tip resonated with you. Ananira, I hope I said your name correctly. Black is dominant for me. I like dark colors, so I need to embrace color more. Absolutely. Absolutely. Adding a pop of color to black, whether it's in your clothes or your jewelry, glasses, a hat, your shoes, your nails, so many different places to add color. Because if you're doing black constantly, you want to add some spice, some differentiation, some statement pieces in there for yourself through your accessories, and through your beauty, and through some of your clothing pieces. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's shift these culture. I am not going back to an office where everyone looks the same and looks at me like I have three heads when I wear color and jewelry. Absolutely. That's why so many women, so many employees of color are just saying, I don't want to go into office. I don't want to have to deal with it. You know, there's a reason behind this. Do we understand the reason? If your C-suite doesn't reflect your employees of color, it's a problem. You're not understanding the experience that these people have. So you don't get it. And so you really need to make sure you understand it if you want to maintain those people at your company. Because guess what? Without the people, you have no company. Ooh, how about that? All right. All right, y'all. I hope this was valuable. If it was, definitely drop in the comments. Let me know what one of your big takeaways was, or send me a DM. And I will see you all next Wednesday. And let me check the calendar real quick, because I think next Wednesday is the 1st. Can I do that? Yes. Next Wednesday is the 1st. So we're kicking off Black History Month. Hey, hey, hey. And so I'm going to be doing a really special live. So make sure that you check out what's happening. I'll be posting that next week, letting you guys know what we're diving into next week to kick off Black History Month. All right. All right, y'all. Have a fabulous rest of the day. Peace.